What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters All-Star video, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are having a wonderful week. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the latest update for the King of Fighters All-Star that brought along with it the latest free-to-play character and a couple of new in-game events to go ahead and tie in with her. And yeah, it's pretty good so far. Let's take a look at it. But before we go ahead and do all that, make sure if you guys haven't already done so, you smash that like button and subscribe. And let's just go ahead and get into today's video. So let's go ahead and start out with the basics here. We'll talk about some of these events. We'll talk about Hotaru, and we'll get into all of it, right? So first things first, you guys, you are going to be able to pick up Hopeful Hotaru as the first day login for the new login bonus, as you guys can see right here. We'll go ahead and talk about this little lady here momentarily, but this is going to be the rest of the login bonuses. Not anything too exciting, but hey, free stuff, it's free stuff, right? You can't complain about free stuff. So let's take a look at some of these events, and then we'll talk about the character herself. So basically all these events are going to be tying into Hotaru herself. So first and foremost, you guys, we are going to have two different lucky chance event missions. We're going to have this one here for these green coins, as you guys can see, and then we are also going to have one that is going to be for yellow coins. So that is going to be what we have here. Now, from the looks of it, it appears as though basically what they did is, because typically speaking, these things have a lot more missions to them, or at least more types of missions to them. It looks like they pretty much just cut them in half and made two separate ones. So you'll have a reasoning as to why you need these two separate colored coins momentarily when we talk about the exchange shop. But if we take a look here, none of these seem like they're going to be anything too difficult. In fact, I've seen a lot of people already get through a ton of this stuff to the point where they're almost completed on most of it. So don't worry about any of this stuff too much. These things do seem as though they are going to be pretty easy for most people to get through. And all you basically got to do is most of your dailies and things like that. And most of the stuff is just going to tie into that. So this isn't going to be anything that you're going to have to struggle too much with. And it doesn't appear as though there's going to be any of these event missions as, wow, major lag spike there. But it doesn't appear as though any of this stuff is going to hold you back too much. So that is good news for all of you Hotaru fans out there who are hoping to be able to build this character up. Now, unfortunately though, as far as building this character up, I don't think that you're necessarily going to be able to completely A5 her for free like we were able to get with the latest free character with the Soulcalibur 6 collaboration with Catsuit Ivy, but I digress. So of course we have the event missions. What are we going to be doing with those? So when it comes to the tiles, you guys are going to have two different colored tiles you're going to be searching for here, and of course this is where those two separate colored coins come in. So you're going to do those event missions for those two colors respectively, and then you're going to have a separate lucky chance event for the green and the yellow ones, right? So if we take a look here, structurally these things are the exact same as they've always been. There really isn't any differences here. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to go in, you're going to use 100 coins at a time for the respective color on the respective board, and it's going to go ahead, it's going to go through here, you're going to randomly get an item, and you're hoping to land on this guy here. This guy here you'll use in the exchange shop that we're going to talk about next in order to build up your Hotaru, right? Once you get this guy, you'll be able to reset the board, and that resetting of the board basically means you're going to restart the whole process over again and hopefully accumulate as many of these tiles for each one of these colors as humanly possible, right? As far as the items that are going to be on here, not anything too out of the ordinary. Again, guys, structurally very similar to what we've seen in the past. So when it comes to where you're going to use those tiles, we'll go to the exchange shop, we'll go to the lucky exchange shop, and this is where you're going to use those. So of course, if you're wanting to fully max out your Hotaru, you're going to want a lot of these green tiles, right? So hopefully your RNG is going to be something that works for you in this regard, but I digress. This is going to be the thing that a lot of people are going to be focusing on. But of course, everything in here, if you're a major Hotaru fan, is going to be of interest to you. Now, when it comes to this whole thing, then this setup here, most of these things are going to require the yellow ones. So if you take a look here, you're going to notice that most of these things, including your stones and then your selectors for your cards, are going to require the yellow tiles. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the memories you're going to need the green ones for, and then we'll have a couple of miscellaneous items here we'll talk about. But first things first, let's take a look here. We do have a finisher card here. Now, this finisher card is going to increase the attack of all teammates, including yourself, by 50% and decreases all enemies' defense by 50% for 10 seconds. when we talk about Hotaru, this is going to be a character that's mainly going to be a very good support, specifically for female and EX characters, and this character is going to be really, really good in that regard as well. But this is her finisher here, new 3PG finisher for Hotaru, and this is going to be something that is going to be very necessary if you're wanting to get the most out of her. So you're going to at least want to pick one of these up with your tiles, right? So that is going to be the first thing. And then of course we have a new card set. Now this card set also takes the yellow tiles. If we take a look here, it is going to have some different effects per card, so we'll take a look at it. But this one here is going to increase the critical rate of Hotaru. And then if we take a look here at the next one, we are going to notice this decreases the base cooldown of your ultimate moves for Hotaru. And then finally, on the third card, this one here is going to have a 12% chance to give you a full power gauge, right? So that is what you got there as far as the card set effects there. And then as far as the set bonus, we take a look here. This is going to increase the attack of all female teammates, including herself, by 20% for 10 seconds when using an awakened skill or an EX skill, and increases critical damage of the tagged in extreme fighters by 10% for 10 seconds when tagging out. If you're really wanting to use this character as a support, I suppose that this is going to be something that is going to be kind of a focus for you. But if I'm being honest, I don't think that you need to necessarily prioritize the card set, being that these tiles are going to probably be something that you're going to need a lot of in order to get things like these stones, which I would prioritize above that. I would say that right now, you're probably better off just holding off on the card set, trying to get the stones and some of these other things, at least try to get one finisher, etc., because that to me is going to be the way you'd want to go. The card set, I think that honestly there are other card sets out there you could use for her that might be a little bit better, but at the same time this card set is specifically designed for her, as we've seen. So I would say that maybe hold on to your tiles until closer to the end, kind of maybe see some footage, see some tests run first, and then see if this card set is as dire as you might think it is just by looking at it on a surface level, because I don't necessarily know that it's going to be all that important yet, because honestly, while it is a good set, I could see you easily replacing it with something else. But hey, it kind of comes down to how you're wanting to play her and your priorities, right? So right now, maybe hold off, just hold on to those tiles as best you can. Focus on at least getting the finisher first, because that would be where you'd want to focus on. Of course, being that she's an EX character, you could technically go ahead and put EX stones on her instead of her own stones, but at the same time, her stones are actually pretty good. This one's for power charge on your circle stone. If we go to the square stone here, this increases the target's damage received by 6% for 5 seconds when she lands an active skill. If we take a look at her hexagon stone here, this one's going to increase her critical damage by a whopping 20%, which is really good. And then the moon and the star stone, if we take a look, increases her active skill damage. And then the final one here on the star stone is going to increase her critical rate. So there is a lot to like in here if you're a Hotaru fan. Very good stuff overall. And if you really want to, you can go into the secret shop. There are a bunch of different packages you could purchase in order to get some more currency to be able to roll on these boards. So that's up to you. That's your prerogative. They are going to be selection boxes in there in some of those packages. So you could always go that route if you're a big Hotaru fan and you just want to go ahead and whale out for her. Other things in here, these are going to cost you, the green ones here, but these boxes here, as you guys probably are already well aware, are going to be able to give you, potentially, if your RNG is good enough, some of these summon tickets for EX Volume 8, at which point right now, as of the making of this video, we have no idea what EX Volume 8 is going to entail or who it's going to include, but you can go ahead and get yourself prepped for that if you wanted to prioritize that. However, in my opinion, being that you need both the green and the yellow ones here to pick up these items respectively here, I would say that you're probably better off just prioritizing Hotaru for now, because honestly, the odds of you being able to get the tickets out of here pretty low. Most of the time you're going to end up with these items here, and that's just kind of a waste. So in my opinion, I would kind of just skip that part, unless you absolutely just do not want Hotaru, right? And you don't care about building her up whatsoever. So that's pretty much what we got there, you guys. And I think that pretty much covers most of this stuff. So like I said, the events and everything pretty much tie into each other pretty seamlessly. There really isn't a whole lot else there to talk about. So what we'll go ahead and do here is we'll take a look at Hotaru herself, since all this stuff has pretty much been centered on her anyway. So Hotaru is a blue defensive type with a leadership ability that increases extreme fighters attack by 35% and female fighters attack by a further 35%. So what this basically means, and most people are probably going to end up using her as a leader for characters such as what we just had with Soulcalibur 6. Of course, any of your female EX characters are going to pair very well with her, and this makes her a wonderful de facto leader for almost any of the female EX characters in the game at this point. So good on her. Right off the bat, she has a use case, which is very good. Other things in here, though, if we take a look at this character, she is really good. I think this is going to be a character that's probably going to be a designated support, like we've seen with a lot of these event-free characters. But at the same time, I am curious, just based on her kit, to see how much damage she can output, because I do think that she could probably stand on her own 2 feet as well, but we'll have to wait and see. I have not seen any early footage of her yet at a high awakening level, so that's something we're going to have to wait and see on. But if we take a look here, this character is going to have the 30% power charge rate increase, and then she has, of course, some other things in here like critical rate, critical damage. That's pretty good stuff. Overall, the things you typically are going to see on any of these EX characters anymore, they're all kind of parodying each other anymore, but it is what it is. If we take a look here at the actual cores that are going to be exclusive to her, though, these are actually pretty interesting. So A Song for Family increases the critical damage of the tagged in extreme fighter by 15% for 12 seconds, and increases all enemies' damage received by 15% for 12 seconds when tagging out, right? So that right there already tells you this character going to be a very good support. But it continues upon landing an ultimate move on a shocked enemy, decreases the target's defense by 20% for 15 seconds, and adds 5.5 times the shock damage remaining on the target and removes the shock effect. So she does have explosion here. So really, really good stuff. And as you could probably guess, she's going to have shock in her kit, which we'll get to when we get to the skills. She also has a PvP exclusive. This reflects 10% of damage taken for 5 seconds when attacked on a cooldown of 15 seconds. That can be pretty deadly in PvP. So honestly, if she is going to be on defense or something like that in something like PBAI, then yeah, that could get really annoying. So in general, really good stuff so far. Now she also has Singer-Songwriter. She is immune to chill and shock and reflects freeze. She casts a shield that absorbs damage for 7 seconds when her HP is 80% or less, and the shield is removed when attacked 30 times on a cooldown of 12 seconds. Anytime you have the shield, you are a happy camper in this game, so that right there is really, really good. And then being immune to chill and shock and reflecting freeze, they're good things, but they aren't necessarily things that are going to come up all the time, and it isn't anything that is going to make or break her. It's just some nice added bonuses. But overall, this character, you pretty much are starting to get the gist of what she's trying to accomplish, but it'll all become much more clear when we get to the actual skills. So if we take a look here on the S1, she's going to have this guy right here. This is going to be able to be used when attacked while standing or airborne, so you have an interrupt right off the bat with a 25% chance to reset the cooldown when using a skill, also really good, and applies the harmony effect on all female teammates, including herself, for 12 seconds upon using it, and this increases attack by 50% and decreases damage received by 70%. Again, guys, a phenomenal support character. Could end up being one of the best supports we've ever had in the game. However, I still to this day do not understand the absolute necessity of a support in 2023. I really don't think they're that important, especially considering the fact that even for newer players, if you just got in with Soulcalibur 6 and you built up any of those characters, you could probably clear everything without a support regardless. So it is what it is, but still very, very good. And again, I'm curious to see how she does on her own as a damage dealer. Now, on the S2, she decreases all enemies' defense by 30% for 10 seconds upon using this, and drops lightning on all targets upon using it, which is basically just your tier 2 version of shock. So that is where you are going to get that shock for that explosion that we talked about on the cores. And then finally, on the S3, this can be used while being attacked. It's limited to standing and airborne. She has hyper armor on here for 4 seconds, so there's your hyper armor with your interrupt, and applies discord on the target for 12 seconds upon landing a skill. This decreases attack by 40% and increases damage received by 20%. So that is going to be pretty atypical of most characters anymore, with your immunity and your interrupt there. And you also are going to, of course, have this guy right here, which is really good, So in general, good stuff overall for the skills. And again, this character does obviously look like a support, but again, we'll have to wait and see how she does as a DPS. Now finally here on her core finisher, she increases the target's damage received by 10% for 10 seconds upon landing its skill. So overall, guys, pretty obvious what this character is trying to accomplish. I don't think I need to sit here and explain to you just how much of a support she is, but I digress. Other things here, she does have Thrill. This resets tag cooldowns and increases critical rate of all team members by 12% and critical damage by 35% for 15 seconds as an EX skill. And she also has Weaken, which increases all enemies damage received by 35% for 15 seconds. And overall, that is what you've got for Hopeful Hotaru, the newest event free-to-play character. So I think that this character is fantastic. I think she is a very, very good character. I think overall she's probably going to end up sliding into a niche as a support, but at the same time, she does have other things in here like this leadership ability, which if we're going to start seeing these types of leadership abilities, this really kind of translates that you basically get a 70% increase to attack on female EX fighters, which is really, really good. And overall, I think that this character is going to be, as a free-to-play character, very good for a lot of you out there, especially as a follow-up to a female-only collab like we just had. So for all of you newer players out there that for whatever reason need a support, she'll slot in very, very well alongside those characters. But with that said, there are other things that are going to be coming along that are going to be kind of part of this update. There is going to be that battle pass. And if you are trying to max out that Hotaru, you are probably going to want to take a look at those. We'll talk about those when they go live in the game. Again, the secret shop is going to have some things in here. If you, again, are wanting to build her up completely, like I said earlier, you are going to have things in here that are probably going to be of value to you. Specifically, these guys right here are probably going to be where you're going to want to focus, because obviously that is going to be able to get you to her just that much quicker as far as building her up. So I think that if you're a massive Hotaru fan, at the end of the day, you should be happy. This is probably the best version of Hotaru you're ever going to get in this game, more than likely. And yeah, I think that they did a pretty good job with her as a support. I just am curious to see how she does as a non-support. I think she's probably going to do just fine. I don't think she's going to be like any of the characters that we've had recently with Soulcalibur 6, or even what we had with the EX Volume 7 banner, but I could be wrong. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, you guys, that is what we got with this latest update. And overall, yeah, as a Tide Them Over update, I think this works. I'm more curious to see what we're going to see with EX Volume 8, but right now we're just going to have to wait and see with that. Right now, I think is a good time for everybody to try and just build up their rubies, because obviously most people are probably pretty broke post Soulcalibur 6. So anytime we get these kind of lulls, it is a positive thing for the community. But anyway, you guys, that's just my opinion. You can let me know yours in the comment section down below. Like, share, and subscribe on your way out. And until the next one, you all take care. Peace.
Continue.